49ers, Raiders, instant reaction, a lot of big plays, some near fights. I'd say a 15-round, 15-period prize fight here at the Raiders facility. Instead of the helmet update, we've got the Al Davis torch update. I think this is the best spot for it. By the way, it's 100 degrees out here, so this is a record as far as the hottest update in 49ers instant reaction history. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from practice. This is what it looked like out on the field. George Kittle had a big day. 49ers had a lot of big gains offensively, but so did the Raiders. Geno Smith, all of his receivers. I think both of these teams playing better offense than defense right now. How about Max Crosby talking to 49ers broadcaster Tim Ryan? Crosby, he promised a fight a couple weeks ago. He wasn't involved in one. There were some shoving matches, but no punches thrown at practice. Crosby also went to talk to his former coordinator, Gus Bradley, stopping by Kyle Shanahan very briefly on the way, but you'll see Max and Gus Bradley, who's now a 49ers assistant head coach, embrace here before practice started. Max is the perfect guy to go against if you want some good quality work. One of the best edge rushers in the game. There's Ricky Pearsall. He was one of the guys who talked to Max Crosby actually before practice today. And now we'll have a look at Brock Purdy, who's delivering big play after big play during this 49ers training camp. It extends into this joint practice with the Raiders. That was Jacob Robinson. He got into one of the shoving matches today. Evan Anderson, big-bodied former 49ers defensive tackle. Now look at the offensive line. You see Connor Colby? He and Nick Zakelj right there, they were splitting first-team left guard reps for San Francisco because Ben Barch was unavailable to go with an elbow injury. He's going to be out this week. So the rookie Colby quickly moving up the 49ers depth chart. Normally you don't have this close of a look at the offensive line, but we had a different angle to view here at Raiders practice, so figured I'd show the O-linemen some love. Spencer Burford, he's the 49ers backup left tackle, and he got the initial action today. Big injury news for San Francisco is that Andre Dillard went on injured reserve, so he had just come off of the PUP list, and now he goes on IR, so apparently the knee did not respond well to a couple of practices, and right now the 49ers backup tackle options are Spencer Burford, who started today instead of Trent Williams, who's not hurt, but just got the day off. He's 36 years old, going to be 37 this year. Actually, I think he turned 37 in July. So, I mean, Trent obviously playing some great football, but they're not going to put him out here in 100-degree practice. And it's Burford behind him, and it's Austin Pleasant at that right side for the 49ers. They do not have a swing situation right now. Kyle Shanahan said that if there were a slam dunk swing tackle candidate available, he'd already be signed. But obviously there's not, and the 49ers are moving forward with the plan as is. Other injuries, Nick Bosa has some neck soreness. He was doing some stretches, walking around on the field today before practice, but he's going to be out for the rest of this week. There are no more practices this week. There's a game against the Raiders on Saturday. CJ West today was down for a little bit after a one-on-one drill, but Kyle Shanahan said that it was just a knee hyperextension. There was some worry that it might be a worse knee injury, but it wasn't. It's just like Michael Williams, who was rehabbing on the side field today. He should be back soon. So should CJ West. So that's a sigh of relief for the 49ers. Jason Pinnock and Trey Brown, so the safety and the cornerback, both have heel injuries. So with Pinnock out, Jair Brown, for the second straight day, has now been at first-team safety, and Marquise Siegel, the rookie, has remained at the first-team safety position. Trey Brown, he'd been falling down the depth chart already, so the 49ers leaders for that third cornerback position are Dallas Flowers and Darrell Luter Jr. All right, let's get to practice today and what happened. Fireworks out on that practice field, the longest 49ers practice I've covered in a while. Maybe it just seemed that way because of the heat. It began in the mid-90s and it ended pretty close to 100 degrees here in the morning in Las Vegas, and they went a full 15 periods. So I call it a 15-round prize fight. Kyle Shanahan said, you know, I knew that the Raiders were going to go out and start stuff. Max Crosby literally said on his podcast a couple weeks ago that he has a 100% fight rate at joint practices. So Shanahan knew that the 49ers are shorthanded and that he didn't couldn't afford to have guys thrown out of this practice. And because of that, he told them, you better not swing back. You better not get pushed and then decide to retaliate in a way that would get you kicked out of this thing. And I think that Shanahan was in a very good mood after practice, jovial even, I'd say, and I think that he was happy that the 49ers managed this practice well without responding to the Raiders. There was one situation where Jacob Robinson, 49ers rookie cornerback, got into a little shoving match with Caillou Blue Kelly of the Raiders, and it seemed that Blue Kelly really wanted to antagonize or pour gas on the fire to make it bigger than it actually was. Fitting that there's a fire, the Alf Davis torch right behind me. But the rookie Jacob Robinson would not oblige him. And then Devin White, veteran linebacker, formerly of Tampa Bay, he's now with the Raiders, came in and he started John. Fred Warner sprinted across the field as backup, and everybody was separated from each other. A couple of those incidents happened throughout this practice, but nothing beyond that. So let's talk about the big plays that we saw over the course of practice. I knew that this was going to be one filled with fireworks, pun intended, thanks to one deep connection really early on between Brock Purdy and Ricky Pearsall. Purdy split the safeties, Ricky Pearsall post over the middle for a touchdown. I'm watching two fields at once, and I turn my head to the left side and I see Geno Smith connecting deep downfield to Jacoby Myers for a touchdown. The Raiders had their share of big plays against a beleaguered 49ers defense. San Francisco missing 20 guys right now, most of them on the defensive side of the ball, especially the defensive line is beaten up right now. Obviously no Bosa with the neck soreness today. So I thought that the Raiders were moving the ball as well, but it was more about the 49ers big plays. There were more of them on their side of the football. You had a deep corner route to Braden Willis that stood out for the 49ers in this game. You had obviously the Pearsall touchdown, but then Christian McCaffrey was catching the ball like crazy out of the backfield. And so I asked Kyle Shanahan about Christian, because I really wanted to know, hey, are his GPS numbers, like his miles per hour, is it as fast as 2023? Because the 49ers can accurately measure that. And Shanahan said that yes. He even joked around with me. I told you that Shanahan was in a jovial mood today. He said that, yeah, he hit 25 mph the other day. And I said, no, Kyle, be serious. And he just started laughing. He said, I just said that so Christian would be happy with me. Because apparently, and this is what Brock Purdy said, Christian mentally right now is absolutely on one. Guess what I've been telling you guys for the past couple months even? I've noticed that Christian McCaffrey is really, really locked in. And it probably has something to do with motivation coming out of last season, where, you know, media was just making stuff up about his injury and people got so many things wrong, and Christian wasn't happy about that. Obviously, the season itself didn't go well either, but there's a lot of reasons for Christian McCaffrey to be absolutely motivated, and I think that he is. I don't know if we're going to see Christian on Saturday, but Kyle Shanahan definitely would like to see Brock Purdy play at least a couple series. That's typically how it's gone before, and Kyle confirmed that today. All right, let's go through some of the best work today, the most competitive stuff. This happened in the red zone. Purdy to Pearsall for a touchdown, followed by a Max Crosby sack. But later on, Purdy to Junior Bergen, the receiver, for a slant on the touchdown. Crosby rushed against Colton McKivitz. Guess who stonewalled Max Crosby on that play? Colton McKivitz. Good pass protection, set up a 49ers red zone touchdown. On the other side of the field, Brock Bowers, the star Raiders tight end, had all those catches last year, beat Deometer Lenore for a touchdown. Size advantage for the Raiders on the play. Bowers wins. 49ers, I don't think, had much of a pass rush today. Even the run defense probably struggled with the decimated defensive line. Second play of practice, Ashton Genty, that first-round running back out of Boise State, ran for a touchdown. Long one through the left side. Big hole. Put his arm up in the air. Crowd here, big crowd at the Raiders facility. Really, really enjoyed that play. I have 68 Stonewalls Max with two X's, right? M-A-X-X, Max Crosby here in my notes. Then there was a second little bit of a shoving match. This one involved a little bit of a blindside hit from one of the Raiders' defensive backs. It was Greedy Vance against Russell Gage after a pass breakup. And again, the 49ers restrained themselves. They didn't take any cheap shots. There was no shoves coming in when nobody was looking. That was what the Raiders did on their side. And I think the discipline made Kyle Shanahan very happy today. He told the team before that if you take a swing at somebody in retaliation today, you are showing your weakness, because you got to help out this team and make sure that we're not operating shorthanded in the heat. Final move the ball drive. This was the money drive of practice. This is the 14th, 15th period of practice. It's hot out there. I mean, again, I'm doing this at 100 plus degrees right now in Vegas. That final period of practice, saw Purdy throw a perfect deep pass to Kyle Juszczyk. And Eric Stokes, the cornerback, just couldn't get over there in time. A lot of it had to do with Purdy perfectly manipulating the defense. He pumped left, moves to the right. Juszczyk had leaked out down the sideline, just zips a spiral in there 40 yards. Kyle makes the catch for a touchdown. That was huge for the 49ers. Then on the other field, Trey Tucker beat Diamador Lenore deep for a touchdown. That came from Geno Smith. So as you could tell, big plays going in both directions. I think that the 49ers defense, without that pass rush, you don't normally see Diamador Lenore victimized for multiple touchdowns in a practice, but if you're not getting the pressure that you need to get, then that could be a danger. I will say that there were a couple big hits today from the 49ers defense. Maybe a little bit more thudding happening on that side of the practice field. You saw D. Winters with a couple just good, solid contact plays. And then later on, Jalen Graham hit one of the bigger Raiders receivers with, it was like a kind of contact over the middle of the field. No tackling to the ground, but you can thud people up. And I think that when we talked to Fred Warner after, he was pleased with the effort that the young 49ers defensive players are putting in. I think there is a recognition that this is going to be a gradual build over the course of the season. If you look at how the Rams had to play last year, and I know the 49ers are following their model, the Rams were the number 29 defense for the first 3 months of the year. Then they were suddenly number 5 for the last month and a half, including the playoffs. So this is going to have to be an offense-forward effort for the 49ers. Now, most days they're going to have Nick Bosa, right? Today he's got the neck soreness. They didn't have Bosa. I think that hurts a lot. They've got 21 defensive linemen on the roster right now, but about 8 of them, or even 9 of them, were unavailable to practice today. So the 49ers are digging far into depth amongst players who aren't going to be on this final 53-man roster. So there's explanations for everything on the defensive side of the ball. The key is just to get the good work in. On that offensive side of the football, really interesting work for the 49ers because they're going against the Pete Carroll team. Right? Carroll's the head coach of the Raiders now, and he was spry. He's running around the field. He's over 70 years old now, but he acts much younger than that. George Kittle said that the 49ers were watching tape to get ready for the Raiders, and they were watching 2015 Seahawks tape. So that's like late stage Richard Sherman with Pete Carroll, Earl Thomas, all those guys. They're watching that tape to see the scheme that the Raiders would run. And funny enough, it was the same exact thing. The Raiders were running what the 49ers saw on tape with the 2015 Seahawks. And by extension, the 49ers defense with Robert Saleh, who worked under Pete Carroll in Seattle, was born as a descendant of those Seattle defenses. So early in George Kittle's career as a 49ers tight end in 2017, when this thing was still very much a Seattle-style defense, he saw something very similar to what the 49ers were seeing on the practice field today. Maybe that's one of the reasons why San Francisco was able to rip off so many big plays against the Raiders.
Going into playing them, didn't realize their defense was going to be completely different than it's been in years past. And it seems like the footage that we were watching was like 2015 Seahawks tape. And then if you watch that compared to the game they just played versus the Raiders, the Seahawks and Raiders, it was like, oh, that's the exact same defense. And so it was kind of funny to go back and watch tape from before I was actually in the NFL. But, you know, it's always a pleasure to go against Max Crosby because he's one of the best, you know, in the world at what he does. And just getting different looks is always fun because, you know, they're playing things that, you know, I've got to go against because the Broncos are completely different, the Niners are completely different. So just that challenge of being able to see it, how they switch their coverages up. So definitely a positive day for us to get some work in.
But I asked George, how different is your own defense, the 49ers' own defense that you're going up against in practice every day? He said it's so different because Robert Saleh has evolved an insane amount in the, 8 years since 2017. So that's something that we'll delve further into schematically. But just know that this is all like, football is a small world. There's a lot of interrelated aspects of it, and that Seattle-style defense, and Pete Carroll now coaching Max Crosby here with the Raiders, faced the 49ers and Saleh, and a 49ers offense that got used to playing against the Seattle-style defense back when Saleh was running something that was a little less evolved back in 2017 and 2018. Just really, really cool history on display in this practice today. All intertwined watching here from the Raiders facility. Early in practice, we got to see some one-on-ones. The most notable one was Max Crosby rushing on the inside against Drew Moss. So I talk about Connor Colby, 49ers rookie offensive lineman. You saw Moss in an earlier video. He got to work against Max Crosby, and I thought that he played that particular rush to a draw. You know, Crosby's just so rubbery and long, and again, like if you had to build an edge rusher in a lab, like a modern edge rusher in a lab, he probably would be a lot like Max Crosby. He's a little slimmer than a Nick Bosa, but he's got the long arms, and it's just like he's just elastic out there on the field. So really tough matchup for a guard, but Moss made him go a roundabout way around him. You can never tell in one-on-ones exactly how it would play out in a 5-on-5 blocking situation because there's no help and there's no actual QB behind there. But I did think that Drew Moss had a pretty significant flexibility, athleticism disadvantage, had a decent rep against Max Crosby in the one-on-one. A couple other interesting notes today. Luke Gifford is still the 49ers' third linebacker. He got beat today once by a tight end in the red zone, but then later he was covering one of the Raiders receivers and covering him effectively. And this is one thing, shout out to Greg Papa. I know that he was part of this Raiders organization for a while. He's fighting against cancer now. He's the 49ers play-by-play announcer. When the 49ers signed Luke Gifford this offseason, Greg texted me and said that he was watching tape of Luke Gifford. He said, Gifford is fast. And there was a time today when he was in man coverage in the slot against a wide receiver, and I thought he did a good job on that rep. He is the favorite to be the 49ers' third linebacker right now. Nick Martin is still developing, and Nick, they think he's going to be fine, but I wouldn't expect him to be the week one third linebacker. There's also a lot of maturity being shown by Tatum Bethune, who's only in his second year but had a good preseason game against the Denver Broncos the other day. The options at linebacker for the 49ers, and I don't think that this is surprising considering this team's quality coaching, but the options for linebacker don't look bad at all. I talk about Fred, obviously, is an all-pro, future Hall of Famer. D. Winters has come along, thudded up a couple guys today. We've seen him stay with Christian McCaffrey at 49ers practice. But I think between Gifford and Bethune, those are your leaders in the clubhouse to be that fourth linebacker for San Francisco. And both of them today showed me some nice things on the practice field on a shorthanded day for San Francisco. More punt return work for Junior Bergen, the 7th-round pick today. I mentioned him a little bit earlier, made that nice red zone slant catch from Brock Purdy to put an exclamation mark on a really, really nice day for Brock in that red zone work. And then it wasn't fully live work. We won't see that until Saturday here in Vegas at Allegiant Stadium, but I'm sure that Junior Bergen is going to be back there trying to return more punts. Jake Moody attempted a couple long field goals today. One he made, the second one from about 55 yards was wide right from Jake Moody. So it was a slobber knocker of a practice, as you would say. 15-round prize fight in a city known for some of the most famous boxing matches of all time. And it made Kyle Shanahan happy that the 49ers didn't take a retaliatory swing against the Raiders. But it got chippy, as Max Crosby promised, and it was grueling, it was strenuous. Even this reaction is strenuous. As I said, triple-digit weather here at the Raiders facility. But we got it in. The 49ers and the Raiders got some quality work in, and they're going to be back out at it on Saturday for preseason game number 2, which should see some of the 49ers starters, including Brock Purdy, play a little bit for San Francisco. So if you have any questions, type them in the comments section. Send this to your friends. We're going to make this the most watched 49ers instant reaction of all time because we're doing it on location. We're not just sitting in our studio back at home. We're going up to the Al Davis torch. The fire that burns the brightest in the Raiders organization is the will to win. Well, this is their tradition. This is their legacy. That's the Al Davis torch here. Now in Henderson, Nevada. No longer in LA, no longer in Oakland, but over here in the desert where the 49ers and the Raiders put together some good work ahead of week 2 of the NFL preseason.
It was a huge challenge today, just having 20 guys out and how many ever we have on PUP and stuff. So it was a challenge to get through that. I thought we needed it, and I was real proud of the guys. A number of positions had to step up, especially DB, D-line, wideout. But I thought we competed hard out there. I thought we did a good job, and excited to have the tape for these guys.
Did you notice improvements from a week ago, or does that register right away?
Not really. I mean, it's a different team we're going against, different situation. We're in a different spot than we were last week. I try my hardest not to measure ourselves up versus other people in these. I just like different schemes and different players to go against. It's more about us continuing to get our guys the best they can be, and I think it helps to go against some different techniques and style to do that. So that's why I like this.
Did Brock get enough work today where you won't play him on Saturday, or?
I'd like Brock to play. We'll see how. I haven't decided anything for sure yet. We'll watch this tape, but I planned on getting these starters going. There's just there might be a couple guys I rest, but there's not a lot of. Especially on the defense, there's not a lot of healthy starters as it is, but I'll figure that out here in the next 24 hours, but I'm planning on some starters to play.
When you say going up against different guys, like McKivitz going up against Crosby a lot, could you see anything?
In the team periods, you can feel Max every play, but I don't really isolate there, but you can feel him every play. No, we got a couple of them, but I think Colton got a couple too. It's fun to watch the one-on-ones when we do that stuff. I don't know how many reps we got of it today, down numbers, but that's usually my favorite thing when it comes to those type of things, or the one-on-ones, because that's really when you get just isolate on those guys. But I don't know, I wasn't over there for that.
Kyle, you'd expressed hope. Obviously, it was just that Dillard could maybe be the answer at swing tackle. Will you have to? Do you want to look outside at this point without him?
Yeah. We're always looking outside, but if there was a lot of guys outside, they wouldn't be outside. They would be somewhere. So I was excited to get Dillard in the mix to compete with that. But we still got Spence going. We still got Pleasant going. So we got guys competing for that spot. It would have been nice to have him, but he got a rough injury, and he's not going to be available for a little bit.
So it was tied to what he was dealing with before?
Yeah, same thing as before.
But what is Connor Colby showing you?
I think he's getting better each week. When you get these guys in at first, you try not to judge them too hard because it takes a while. But the cool thing about alignment, if they just gradually get better each day, they kind of learn what we're asking. It's always different techniques. You never have a guy come out of college who is going to have to run as much as we ask him to as O-line. So that always takes a number of days, sometimes a number of years. But I think he's improved a lot here in these last couple of weeks. And saw he got a high PFF grade, so I know you guys are all on top of him. But I don't think it was too off. I think he played pretty well.
Anymore.
No, it's not a secret.
When we talked to Chris about him a couple weeks ago, he said that he was pleasantly surprised by where he was at in pass protection relative to Iowa didn't run pass as much.
Right.
Has that been?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, you don't get to see a lot of that on Iowa tape, and just his size and stuff. He has an advantage with his size being in front of people, and his feet and stuff have been able to do it too. So he's catching up in the run game, but he's had more of an advantage in the pass game so far.
I know you joke, but does the PFF grade match up to the 49ers grade?
I don't know. I don't really know their grade. I just know they tell me when they have a high grade, so I know who you guys are going to ask about.
So I'm saying, did he grade out well?
Yeah, I thought he played well. Yeah, he did. He did well. So did the other. Drew Moss did too. So I think they're getting more accurate.
Sorry, I apologize.
Good.
It seemed like the Raiders were doing their share of antagonizing, and you guys are really sort of in control and sustaining that. With the laundry list of injuries, was there a message to, hey, let's try to keep things in control with these joint practices?
Yeah, there's a huge message. We had an idea what we would walk into, and but it's the same as the game. I have no problem with people fighting. I have a problem with it hurting your football team and losing football games. We don't like people to fight on game day because, one, it's a 15-yard penalty. We like explosives. They're hard to get by. We don't like to just give them people, and you get ejected. And it's a lot harder to play with 45 and 46. And today I looked at it even stronger. We're out here with missing 20 guys. We have some positions that don't really have enough to go. I looked at it as if you get punched and you throw a punch back, I told the guys it shows how mentally weak you are, because all you're going to do is leave 5 guys left to do the whole practice just because you couldn't handle getting hit in your face mask and letting that hurt someone's hand. So I thought it was important to truly show how tough you are by no one throwing a punch, and from what I saw, the guys handled that because we were able to keep them all out there.
Kyle, with Trent didn't practice in the 2 joint practices, is that just because Trent Williams doesn't need to compete in joint practices, or is it anything to do with getting Spencer as much work as possible?
No, it's more about Trent.
Yeah.
Starting to have new plus 36-year-old rules for certain people.
Yeah.
His plus 36 might be a little different than our punter and long snappers, but Trent's playing at a very high level. Trent's in as good a shape. I think he's a lot further along right now than he was last year. We love where Trent's at. You only have so many bull rushes, so many everything you have in you once you get to a certain age. And when you put a guy out there like Trent, I mean, everyone wants to measure themselves up against him. And so I've been in joint practices with Trent, and it's a little different for him just going against people. So kind of want to take him out of that and be a little bit smarter with him.
Is McCaffrey and Kittle, are they ready for the regular season, you think?
Yeah, I do. I mean, you always want to keep working and stuff, but it's such a fine line. Like, those guys, they're ready physically when it starts, but they know they got to get through camp and stuff so their bodies can take it throughout the whole year. It's really tough when the way those guys play on Sunday. They can always throughout the year get a lot of work on Wednesday and Thursday. So if you don't get that work now, sometimes you never can catch it back up. The problem is stretching it all out. And that's why we got to be smart with those guys. That's why those guys do get some fed days. It's kind of naturally happened with these scrimmages because we've had 2 on, 1 off, then we have to travel. Now we have tomorrow off, and then we'll see how the game goes. I haven't decided with all those guys yet, but there's not a lot of time in the game either.
With how Christian, I guess, coming off of last year's injuries and stuff, did you check in on him during camp, or just you can tell by how he's practicing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm around Christian a lot, so I talk to him a lot, and talk to the trainers a lot, and Christian's very neurotic about his body, so he's on top of all that stuff. But I mean, last year was the first training camp he missed with us. Missing training camp isn't always the best way it's definitely not the best way to keep you healthy, but getting hurt in training camp also is a problem too. So that's kind of the miserable decisions I have every single day.
He seems he's moving really well to the naked eye. The GPS tracker is saying that it's the same
that?
Christian.
Yeah.
Are his numbers the same as 23 before all that stuff?
Yeah, I think he had like 25 yesterday or something like that. So.
What does that mean?
No.
Just trying to make Christian happy with me. He's doing awesome.
Keep it realistic.
He's as fast as he's been, as quick, as strong. So he's Christian McCaffrey.
George and Brock had a really nice chemistry last year, and they spent a lot of off time together. Do you see it even raise higher, their chemistry together?
Yeah. I've noticed Brock had a couple more Bud Lights lately. I think that's from Christian. Again, from Kittle. No, I'm just joking. Brock's not like that. But I think hanging out with Kittle's awesome. They got a lot more working and stuff. But it's not necessarily stuff you see on the field. It's just cool to see guys get closer and just become more comfortable with each other. And, I mean, we've been here now, I think, 3 or 4 years together. And, spend a lot of time with people like that in your whole life. So hopefully it'll be 4 more.
You mentioned before the risk reward of deciding which starters play and which don't. How do you balance that given how many injuries look down on the depth that you have, and how does that maybe change the calculus a little bit?
Well, the fact that so many guys are hurt, it kind of takes the decision process out for me. I mean, I think there's 3 healthy starters on defense right now, so I got to decide on those 3 guys. But it does put a lot more pressure on the 3s and stuff. The 2s become the 1s, the 3s become the 2s. We don't really have 3s right now. But I look at it all and how much time you're getting the next few weeks and stuff. And I'd like to get I'd like to get a lot of work for as many guys as I can on Saturday, because we're going to try to treat the following week like a normal week where we take a Monday and Tuesday off, try to have a normal Wednesday, Thursday, Friday schedule, which will be 1 day off because it's a Saturday game. But I'm trying to do that as best as we can. And guys who miss all of Saturday, who don't work on Friday, then the whole team has Sunday and Monday off. Now all of a sudden you've had a guy rest for too many days, and it becomes unsafe to bring him back. So we got to figure out how to balance it out.
Take 2 more guys.
The defensive line, I mean, not many guys that are probably going to make the roster that are available right now. Do you ever, I mean, it's not just defensive line, but do you ever go like, oh shit, here we go again? I mean, do you ever get those feelings of?
Yeah, because that's what we all get, and that's why we all don't like training camp. I mean, we love football, we love practicing and stuff, but you know how valuable these players are to winning games, and I think we had 60 linemen out there today. 2 that I think we signed yesterday, 2 that we signed the week before, and 2 guys that I really know. So that is a little bit different. It gives guys other opportunities. We can see more people, but yeah, this is my first time going through it, so it's kind of the life of the coach. So I accept it a little bit more, but yeah, it's something we're thinking about a lot, and yeah, it's a big deal, and hopefully we can fix it.